there in about 20 minutes. Is that okay? Okay, so this side here we're not pressurizing?
Yeah, that.
Gotcha.
It's going through.
Yep, yep, okay.
Cool.
Totally.
And then
Awesome.
like I've thrown the switch a couple times and it keeps knocking it off on the electrical outlet. Like it blows the fuse.
Really? Okay, so it's tripping the breaker.
And there's a, I don't know why there's electrical tape on it. It's on the one on the left.
Oh yeah, okay, so the compressor, gotcha. Okay. Huh. Alright, so we pretty much have this is, like I said, it's a Copeland head compressor not turning on. We've got a pump right there. Let's see what we have here. Compressor right over there. That's goes to this one over here. And then what else do we have? Where's that guy coming in at? Oh, so right down here. Alright, so we got the power cord here. Oh, so there we go. Let's see here. I don't think this one has an on-off switch. These are the wires. Let's see what this guy does when we flip it. How soon. Okay. Well, that sounded pretty ugly. Alright, so what we've got is we've got a 115 volt Copeland head compressor, and we've basically got what appears to be a pump failure. So I'll kind of hold you there. We'll do it one more time. Alright, it appears to be pumping up right now. Now it's actually running right now. That sounds normal. Now you can see how quiet the compressor is. Now inside this box over here is right in there is a capacitor, and that capacitor is responsible for the unit running. That's how the motor starts. Now, because the motor stalled out, I'm wondering if there's, maybe starting to become a problem with that capacitor. Now, the way that these units are in here, they're a little bit tighter. So it's a little bit harder to get at. I would do for, we did actually pump up there. So general compressors are going to pump all the way up to about 100 psi. And also the other thing is that little indicator right there is blue, which is a good sign. The other thing we can do is flip this, see if any water comes out of there. So it doesn't. So that tells me that it's actually the source is from the bottom. So that goes up to there, over and out. So that tells me there's no water in the compressor. So I'm wondering if the issue is maybe indicating to a weak capacitor that is just starting to show its age. So again, we've got 120 volt Copeland head compressor. See right there, Copeland. And what we'll do is we'll let it run a cycle, and we'll just see if it maintains. What I will do is come back and actually measure that capacitor to see what the capacitance is. I can check it with a multimeter, and that will give us a pretty good indication there. Now that box, I might even be able to get it off the way that it is there. I don't know if you can see that in there. There's a screw on each side, and that box will come up and out. So let me see when they're actually going to be starting their treatment today, and if I can, I'll actually take that reading now, just to kind of get an idea. These capacitors are readily available at Granger, and so if we need to get one today, we can. Other things to be looking at are the oil level, which I don't know how I missed that oil level. Appears to be maybe a little bit low, so that's not good. Didn't even notice that. The oil level should be, let's see here. Yeah. So let's add a little bit of oil to that. Get that up to the middle. So here we go. We're just going to use some of their oil, and I guess definitely if that oil's low, that would have caused some of our problem here. I'm sure it's not going to turn on there. All right, so we'll just put a little bit of oil in there, and what we'll do is I'm going to unplug that compressor for a second, and then also sometimes to get at things, just unscrewing and getting things out of the way to make your access a little bit easier is desirable. So let's go ahead and get that intake filter off. So this right here is where the air goes into the head and is compressed. So we'll add a little bit of oil here. And we're going to just keep an eye on the little sight glass here, is what that's called, the sight glass. I'll get a little better angle there. Yeah, so this oil is there to lubricate and keep things running smoothly. It's entirely possible that this unit has been burning through oil just because of the age of the compressor, and that oil has been getting consumed and is now that oil is not doing its job because it's not there. looks like we'll see we're right there, right in the middle, right where we should be. Okay, so that's good. So now go ahead and get this filter put back on. This is an RPI filter, and I really like this style because it's makes the filter change a lot easier. We put this on a little while ago. You basically just push these two little tabs and then the filter comes out. So that's what an intake air filter looks like, and that's pretty clean. What happens is air goes inside. Okay, it basically goes on the inside of that. So basically all the dirt would be on the inside of the filter, and then it comes through the filter and then out to the unit itself. Okay, so all compressors have air filters, or should, and they should be changed every year, whether they look dirty or not. So that looks good. Okay, so let's go ahead and pump this guy back in. Inspect the plug. No, maybe a little bit of light arcing, but nothing too bad there. So I'm just gonna plug this guy in. Breaker's tripped, so it should kick on. Right now it's 80, just about 80. So compressors typically go between 85 and 105. So when I put this on in, it's gonna likely kick on. So it should be kicking on here any minute as it gets down there. And here we can actually help it along a little bit by opening this. That'll make that gauge go down. Alright. That's how it should sound. And it's just really no banging or popping. That did take quite a bit of oil there, so I'm thinking maybe that could have been it. Run a little bit low on oil. Things got hot and seized a little bit. You know, stop turning. So I still want to go ahead though and pop off that little box, and maybe we'll, like I said, we'll just analyze the capacitors real quick. I'll show you how I do capacitance checks and what you can do to just see, you know, definitively that the capacitor is in good shape. Just to look at this one while we're running. This unit is angled a little bit differently, but we've got pretty much the same thing. So the way this office is, there's like this half of the office and this half of the office on either side of the compressor. So we've actually got two pumps that feed into one amalgam separator that goes out to both sides. So this is a really good, you know, example of a shared utility room. How's it going? Yeah. So what we've got here is the oil level was low. I did fill a top off the oil. It's possible that if the oil was low, that there would be extra friction, which would cause the machine to turn, the pump to turn harder, which would cause the breaker to go. The breaker is basically taking it takes more electricity to run the pump when it is out of oil. So I just filled the oil. Oh yeah, we're up to pressure right now. Yeah, it's working. I'm also going to check. There's two electronic components called capacitors. I'm going to just do a reading on those to make sure that the actual capacitance is good. It's kind of a passive check, and if the capacitor is good and the oil was low, I'm going to say that, you know, other than like where did the oil go, that's the question we have to ask. But other than that, I mean, just keep an eye on the oil level, and you can see right here, like I don't know if you can see, like, see how, yeah, there's that level right there, and that oil is a little bit dark, so it could be indicating that maybe there's starting to be a problem with this motor. but I think both of your units are of this style. This is a 120 volt or 115 volt unit. So what I'll do is I'm probably going to go ahead and bring one of these motors over here from my shop and just leave it here in case there's a problem, because I've got these laying around just like by the dozen. I've got a dozen of them. So I'm going to literally bring one over here. We'll leave it here. If there's a problem, when these fail, then we'll have the part right here, and we're just going to, you know, won't cost you anything extra, and it'll just be a way that we'll be ready in case there's a problem.
Okay.
But
so is there, like, are we supposed to be maintaining this oil level, or?
yes. So really, we want to make sure the oil is at the middle. Sometimes they have a sticker that says, you know, that, hey, the oil should be like at the middle of the sight gauge. I didn't use it this time, but there's actually a little funnel. Really, the key is just getting the oil, you know, into this hole right here.
Okay.
And then that's going to make that level rise. And we don't want to overfill it. We want to go ahead and make sure that we have it right there, again, just right in the middle.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, but it's like already dirty, so that could be a sign that there's something wrong with the motor.
Yeah, well, you know, we just changed the oil not too long ago, because even though these are older, you know, one of the things we did was we wanted to just maintain them.
Yeah.
My gut feeling is these probably haven't been maintained in a while until you guys started paying attention to them. So, and these are older. They are older units. Generally, you can kind of tell. Some of them have like a, I don't know if we'll be able to see it, but there's a some sort of a stamp on the tank, probably on the back side, because that's usually where it's at. It'll tell like the year. These are probably, you know, fairly old, but they're really reliable. This style of pump is very quiet. A lot of the newer pumps are super loud. The compressors, they're just like, they sound like bang it, bang it, bang it, you know, when they're running. And so I don't know. I think right now though, we're gonna go ahead. I think this is logically could have been, you know, the extra friction could have been the cause. Now the other thing, this is a 120 volt compressor that's plugged in right here.
Yeah.
Running load amps, RLA I think, or full load, it's usually FLA, but that's 13.5 amps. So that's a lot of current that this is pulling. And so it's possible that with that little bit of an extra resistance in there, that it will be pulling more than that. And this breaker over here is a, what is that? Let's pull that off. Yeah, so that's a 15 amp breaker. And this is runs at 13.8 amps, so it doesn't take very much to push it over that 15 level. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Do you have any other questions about it? Okay. Cool.
So how often does it normally run through the oil?
You know what? Usually they're good for a very, very long time. Like usually when I come into these, like they're not that low. So we want to just keep our eye on it. I would say just maybe on the Friday weekly, glance at this one, and then also, let's see here, this guy, I'm gonna try to move it without agitating anything, because this other, let's see, I think that's why it's there. Let me grab my scissors real quick, just to, so we'll just cut this guy real quick, and then that way it'll be a little bit freer. So we'll cut that. Well, that was lame. I was making some good progress there, and then realized I didn't have my multimeter. So it either fell out of my truck and was gone forever, or I got taken into my repair shop. So I guess that should kind of go to say that I'm definitely far from perfect, but I'm honest, and I will do what I can to at least give you a real look into what it takes to get this type of work done. So where we left them was we left them with 2 working compressors, because that's always important. And I'm gonna head over here to the hardware shop and get a multimeter that will allow me to check capacitance, because that's what I need to check. Capacitors help the motor start and run, And sometimes when you have a problem with the motor not starting, it indicates that the capacitor is starting to fail. Capacitor problems are extremely common on compressors, and a lot of times the unit won't run. And this is also really very common on air conditioners, because capacitors are usually just a few bucks. You know, some of the dental ones are a little more expensive, but list price on them is, you know, sometimes around even up to like $75. But you know, that's what it is. So just keep in mind, capacitors are you know, sometimes to blame. And then instead of, you know, you might get told, well, sorry, you know, you need a whole new compressor, when really it was just a $75 part, which $75 by itself sounds expensive, but then you start kind of comparing that to the cost of a, you know, $6,000, $7,000, $10,000, $12,000 compressor. $75 sounds pretty good. So I'm going to go in here to the local hardware store and pick up this multimeter, and then next time I see you, we'll be back in that office. All right, here we are. Man, the death of 1,000 cuts. Here we are. This is what I needed. See, right there. See that little red sign right there? Bam. That is for capacitance. And I had to check because 3 AA batteries included. Bam. That would have sucked to get there to not have that.
So I will go past.
Hey, how's it going, lady? I'm good. So here's where we're at again. Run start capacitor, run capacitor. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let it get up to temp pressure, and then I'm going to go ahead and unplug it briefly to take our readings. What we're looking for is let's see here. So I'm looking right here. So this is basically 40 microfarads right here. Which I can see, 40 UF, and then this one here, let's see here. Alright, I'll have to loosen that up a little bit. So I'm going to just go ahead and let this guy run up a little bit. Should be about ready to turn on. Alright, and it's a good sign. Everything's been running pretty smooth while I've been gone. All I'm going to do is just back that off just a little bit so that I can kind of move that capacitor. And basically, so we're looking for 430 to 516 microfarads, right? So, yep, so basically right there, all right? So 430, 516, and then right there it's 40 microfarads. So let's see what we get. What I'm going to do is going to go ahead and unplug this guy here, because that's at 100. And then just to make sure. Now, the thing about capacitors is they can have store charge. So we're just going to try to, you know, basically by touching those two together, we bleed off whatever difference of potential is there. So now I'm just going to take our little meter here. Actually, I should have. I did not install the batteries yet. Alright, so. Oh, that's the wrong one. I'll let this guy run. There we go. All right. So as long as that gauge is over 80, the customer is going to have the pressure that they need to be practicing. So that gauge right there is that's the most important indicator here. You're just getting to see it all today. Alright, so now we'll go ahead and bam. And then we're just going to go there to that indicator. And then that is, now we're going to push the mode until it says, there's your, basically there's a diode. And there's our capacitance, nanofarads. So here's having a multimeter is extremely useful. This one was about 50 bucks, and I'm gonna say it can really help you, even if you don't entirely know what you're doing. It's something where you can really test certain components and passively check them. So I like this one because it's got an ability to like hang on, kind of. So what we'll do is we'll just clip on somewhere here in the vicinity. Okay. Maybe. There we go. Alright, and then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pop off one of these leads, and see, I got it where it didn't want to be. So I'm going to put it back to nanofarads right there. Alright. Now, let's see. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically read right across these two guys right here, okay? So in order to get a good reading, I've got to, so that's disconnected. Again, double checking it. Alright, and again, we're looking for 430 to 516. Alright, so I'll keep that on there so you can see it. Okay, so 515 microfarads. So actually, if you look right there, 516, that's the number. So that is good. So I'm going to go ahead and put that back on. So capacitance checks, you're always going to check them with the capacitor fully disconnected. That way you're not getting any reading through the system. Okay. Now this other one, and what we're doing is we're basically just disconnecting one lead. So pick a side and just disconnect that one lead. Now in this one here, we're looking for 40 microfarads. So let's go ahead and look at that. So I'm just going to go from there across to here. Okay, right there and there. Let's just see what we get. Boom. See that? 39.78. Alright, and so we're looking for 40 right there, okay? So definitively these capacitors are good, and this system is good. The problem was 100% that the oil ran low, causing extra current on the unit, and that resulted in the circuit breaker tripping. And so again, maintenance, checking oil levels. And see, we still have over 80 psi. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get this all put back together and shove this guy up in here. Slide him back to where he was. Take our driver. And then just get everything restored. Alright, so there's that. Go ahead and put this cover back on here. Alright, and then we'll go ahead and so let's go ahead and plug this guy back in. I need to go ahead and hook this box back up with this hardware. What I'm going to do is run it all the way up to full pressure, and then do that by plugging it in, and then that way it'll give me enough time to get everything hooked back up. So we're going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll just bleed off enough to kind of get that gauge down. So it should turn on right about 80. This is the way a compressor should normally operate. So as soon as it hits 80 or 85 to 80, it should turn on. Boom. Okay. Alright, it's going to run. And it's going to carry that gauge. And see how strong this oil compressor is?